Good afternoon. There we go. Welcome to Ingomar United Methodist Church. My name is Benjamin Bugale. I am the Director of Traditional Music and Worship here. And it is so wonderful to see so many faces here. But we also acknowledge those who are with us watching from elsewhere. So thank you for joining us in person and remotely as well. Today's program I am particularly excited about, which I will get to in a second. But I want to invite you to look at your program. It's a little different than what we typically have, but there's information for you to digest and look at a little bit differently today, and I'll let Taras himself speak to that. But if you also look at the back, we have our final summer recital series. It's not next week, it's the following. So you get to take a break on August 10th. So if you come here and we're not here, I warned you. August 17th, though, it'll be the end of an art song project I've been working on for 10 years. So that's all I'm going to do as far as talking about myself goes. We have a banner out in the narthex which celebrates and honors our sponsors who help make this program happen. And usually this is the part where I say all of the donations, we have a basket in the back, and the donations go to the recitalists and the artists and the people who have made the recital series happen. However, today we are going to be supporting Ukraine with the offering. Sunshine for Tomorrow Foundation is out there selling different clothing and different items, so we encourage you to support them as well. So we are thrilled to welcome everybody here today. And as we kind of go into the program, I want to say what an honor it is to welcome Dr. Taras Filenko to this place. I have known him since 2019. Which is not terribly long by comparison to some people, but he has been an absolute pleasure to work with. I think that his cause is endlessly admirable, and I give thanks for his presence here today. And before I forget, I have to say one more thing, and then I invite you to continue to look at this slide. We have a sermon series at the end of September that I am inviting you all to come to. The last 3 Sundays in September, we're doing a sermon series called Beyond Thoughts and Prayers. And Beyond Thoughts and Prayers pairs really well with a program like what is happening here today, where we talk about what can we do. There's so much trouble around us, and there's so many things that are alarming. And our worship staff is going to investigate what it means to be the hands and feet of Christ, to be people that are active and doing something about it. And Dr. Filenko is no exception to that. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to invite to the chancel at this time, Dr. Taras Filenko.
Thank you so much for coming. I know that Sunday late afternoon, everybody busy, and for me, it's not just a concert, not just event. It's just to share with you something that's extremely painful for me and extremely important. And you're not just the audience to me, you're my family now. So it's not a concert. I'm going to share with you what I know about Ukrainian music, Ukrainian culture with you, and I hope you would enjoy this evening. Unfortunately, I have to dedicate this concert to victims in Kyiv. Just a couple of days ago, actually the place where I was spent as a young man, this area had been bombed again and again and again. When I was in Kyiv last summer, you can even imagine when people telling me that they're sleeping in the bathroom for the last 3 years because they're afraid. Well, the bathroom is the safest place to be. And they have a mirror in the bathroom with the daily chores for kids because kids are sleeping. And when I stayed with my friend, I saw these Shaheds, Russian Shaheds flying. This is scary. This is when you see them and you don't know how when they change the direction and would hit you. So this is this area where I used to live very close to this place. And unfortunately, this war is very close to my heart because all my family been dispersed. My second cousin been killed or missing in action, been killed probably, and one is wounded, shelled, mentally unstable, and all 11 members of the family just dispersed, gone. Because this war is not only about land, it's not only about politics, it's not only about price and oil and all this stuff, NATO. This war is elimination of Ukrainian people. And first and foremost is a national identity. And part of the national identity is musical culture, especially for a nation that been oppressed and suppressed for so many times. Oral element, oral culture, music, art is a kind of backbone of their existence and their future. This is what they're taken out from us. Burning libraries, burning churches, burning museums, looted museums, and trying to destroy national identity. So this is why I'm here. I just want to share with you music by Ukrainian composers and tell you about history a little bit, and we move through. From the Baroque period, from 1700s, it will be my first piece that I'm going to play, to the 21st century, along with other surprises, and even surprises for me, with vocal music and stuff. Instead of saying that I'm going to defend Ukrainian music or culture, I would say now that Ukrainian culture create Russian imperial culture to some extent, to a great extent. This one of the composer, this one was the example. He came from Ukraine, where he studied in Academy of Music in a small town called Glukhiv. But for 120 years, court capella in St. Petersburg take the boys from this music school, year by year, year by year. And this one was an example. He was in a church capella, in court capella, in St. Petersburg. And at that time, the gentleman who in charge of the Russian church was Italian composer, Galuppi, which is one of the most famous opera composer in the world at that time. And he lived in Venice. So this is why he been shipped to Russian court to be in charge. After 2 years, he disappeared, and he said that, you know what, enough with me. I'm going to take this boy to Venice, and I'm going to make a great composer from him. So for 10 years, Dmitro Bortnyansky worked in Italy. He staged his opera in Padua and Verona and in Venice, mostly in French. And he shipped back to Russia, where he was kind of music slave in the court. And this is one of the first pieces that have been written for harpsichord and piano ever over there, 17 plus. So because piano and harpsichord coexist at that time. Harpsichord was an old-timer, and piano just came. So this is why on the front page of this piece that I'm going to play, it's called For Harpsichord or Piano. And by the way, this piece has been lost for all these years, and about 26 years ago, my friend found the parts of this piece in a French library in Paris, and they put together. I'm going to play this piece, but pay attention to my left hand. It's very, very simple, because left hand in this piece assigned for improvisation. At that time, improvisation as important part as written music. So I'm going to stick as close to original as possible, but if one day I'm going to come back and play the same piece, it will be very different, because I'm going to improvise. And no dynamics. All dynamics is mine. Next time will be different as well. So, Dmitro Bortnyansky, a sonata for cembalo, or harpsichord, clavichord, and piano. One thing. I forgot about one thing. Among many others. Later, Bortnyansky became appointed by Russian court as a top censor of the whole Russian church music. And he made a tremendous impact. So he brought polyphonic music from Ukraine. Polyphonic means many layers. And Italian elements of the vocalization. And basically, Russian music in late 1700s is Ukrainian music with Italian elements. And he became a top censor, means only what he prescribed would be presented and singing. And he wrote 36 church concertos that was unknown to the very end of his life. And he started publishing on his own expenses. He passed away. And a gentleman whose name is Pyotr Tchaikovsky spent 2 years editing his music to publish. And he said that this is the best composer in the world that I know. So I'm going to play this piece for harpsichord and piano. So this is a simple piece, but this piece opened up the whole classical tradition. Actually, Bortniansky was almost on the same year with Haydn and Mozart. He was older a little bit than Haydn and younger than Mozart. So basically, it's exactly the same culture that been brought from Europe to Ukraine, and from Ukraine been brought through. Romantic period, not easy for Ukraine because a lot of composers either forced to move out or studied and played in Europe, and very few dedicated their life to cause of Ukrainian culture. One of these composer, not only composer, he's a backbone of the cultural identity in 19th century in Ukraine. His name is Mykola Lysenko. If you wouldn't remember anything from this concert, but only one name, Mykola Lysenko, I would be grateful, because I spent almost 35 years to research this composer, and it stems from the research of my mother. So this book, very heavy book, is basically about this composer and as a backbone, as a milieu of the culture in 19th century of Ukraine, with artists and painters and actors and actresses that he brought together and carry on through his life. This monument that I passed many times when I walked from my home to Academy of Music, where I taught piano and musicology. Every day I passed this monument. And last year, when I was in Ukraine, instead of this monument, I saw this. And for me, it became kind of a symbol of Ukraine now. In a way, it's hidden, but at the same time, it's a strong resistance. Because we never know. This opera house, by the way. And when I was in Kyiv, the bomb passed the opera house, and on the same street hit another building. But all the glasses were on the ground, although scattered. So I'm going to play a couple of pieces by Lysenko. The time that he never expected people to hear Ukrainian music, he wrote and wrote and wrote 40 volumes of music, only 20 been published up to date, including operas and arrangements and piano pieces, symphonies. I'm going to play a piece by Lysenko called Elegy. It's a very kind of short, romantic piece. I hope you enjoy it. he never expect his music to be played, by the way, because at that time, the opera stage and stage for the theater and concert hall was closed for Ukrainian composers, even though Lysenko studied in Leipzig. Because at that time, in 19th century, if you want to be somebody, you have to study only in Leipzig, in Germany. If you want to be a vocalist or singer, only in Italy. And he studied along with Edvard Grieg. However, Edvard Grieg moved to Norway, and he'd been given opera, stage, and symphony to play and to perform and to write for, and Lysenko moved to Ukraine, where all this has been closed. And all his music basically in a shelf for many, many, many years. Even when I was a student in Academy of Music, when I was interested in playing Ukrainian music, I've been told by my professors, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Play Brahms, play Chopin, play Beethoven, play Mozart, but not Ukrainian music. Don't waste your time. So this is my upbringing, and this is why we experience what we experience now in Ukraine, because a tremendously interesting and complex and beautiful culture unknown to the world. And I would be grateful if you continue to listen, because all these pieces that I'm going to play today are unknown to you. And I know from my own experience that attention span for something new, 10, 15 minutes. So it will be new music all through. Next piece I'm going to play called Rhapsody. Lysenko was one of the first who started to employ folk elements into the classical genre or romantic genre of Rhapsody. So what he did, he take tunes from the dance, tunes from the village singing, and also this instrument in the hand of Cossack is called bandura. Bandura is an ancient, actually very ancient instrument. In Ukraine, it's known since 15th century, but I think that it's kind of Indo-Ukrainian ties, because when I was in India last year and have concerts over there, and I've been told that this instrument very common, no, not common, but very close to instruments in India. Even the modes, the scale, the modes of bandura, if I will play for you, you would hear, this is a bandura mode. With all this, it's called jubilation, like almost in Middle Eastern. And if you would hear in my Rhapsody, in his Rhapsody, he's stroking the strings. So this is entrance to the Rhapsody. So he is trying to imitate this instrument called bandura. And he was the first one who started to collect instruments, because all these instruments, all bandura players, basically, they were blinded. Mostly they were blind Cossacks who'd been captured by Tartars or Turks in Ottoman Empire. And if they're trying to escape, they've been, blinded. And when they come back to Ukraine, they can fight. So they very common, they start singing, playing bandura with the young kids, just moving from market to market, from place to place, from town to town, and singing about history of battles, about Cossackhood and stuff like that. And by the way, in 1930, under Stalin, most of them been collected in the city of Kharkiv, which is the capital of Ukraine at that time. And after this, most of them being executed or sent to Siberia for. So they're trying to suppress culture in so many ways. And this one of the pieces that I'm going to present for you has folk elements. By the way, at that time it was novelty. Only few pieces in history, like Liszt, and ended up with slight elements of the harpsichord, of the cembals in his Rhapsody. Brahms used a little bit of folk tunes in his music, and Lysenko for the first time, basically the whole piece based upon this folk tunes. I'm going to play for you this piece, Rhapsody. Thank you. Next, now program, 2 Ukrainian folk songs. This is a prize for you, and for me too. A couple of weeks ago, I called my former student, absolutely wonderful, beautiful young lady, musician, singer, educator. His name is Victoria. And I asked her, Victoria, can you learn a couple of pieces for this event? Normally, you wouldn't do this, because singers need at least half a year to practice something like this, and in foreign language, in Ukrainian. And I found out that this young lady has a root in Ukraine. Her grandmother and grandfather was born in Galicia, at that time called Ukraine. Because the country of Ukraine been cut apart between Poland, Russia, Germany, Romania, back to Russia, back to Poland. So they born in Galicia, and sometimes they call it Austria, but they were from Ukraine. And this is a family of this young lady who is going to sing 2 pieces for you. This grandparents came from Makisport. And on the left and the right side is her grandparents. And I'm going to invite Victoria. Victoria, where are you? Oh, Victoria. And we're going to share with you something very special. Not too many artists, and especially singers, jump and brave enough to jump and to learn something in a completely foreign language in a couple of weeks. So, Victoria, tell about the pieces.
Is this, okay, awesome. So, hi, I'm Victoria, and I'm a former piano student of Dr. Filenko's, and somehow in the life journey of music, I ended up getting a voice degree and had to tell him I hadn't kept up with my piano to do this, so that's why I'm singing for you today. And the 2 pieces that I'm going to be singing today, the first one is Kozak is Carrying Water Uphill. And the premise of this is basically there's this woman, and she's singing to a man that she loves, and she wants her to take him wants him to take her with him, and he won't take her, and she cannot go with him. It's a song of parting. She does not want to be parted from him, but that's kind of the way that their situation is. They cannot be together. So on the lighter end of the pieces for today also, the second piece that I will be performing is Oh Nutty Boy. And the best way that I can summarize this is a woman is singing about this like rapscallion man, like she loves to hate him, but she hates to love him. It's very much like, oh, he's a son of a gun, but he's my son of a gun, and I'm going to pretty much insult him lovingly, but I hate him. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the musical piece Can't Help Lovin' That Man of Mine, if any of you are familiar with that. But long story short, she loves him, but he is a jerk, but he is her jerk. So.
By the way, the painting on your screen by a primitive artist, her name is Primachenko. In the first year of war, a museum hosted her painting been bombed. And luckily that her painting basically all over the world, in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Austria, but her museum is gone. So this one of her painting. I debated, should I bring these 3 slides or not today? And this morning I decided to show it to you. I don't want you to read every line. I don't expect you to read every line. But every line is a decree against Ukrainian identity, against Ukrainian church, against Ukrainian literacy, against schools, against theater production, against poetry. And if you look at any line, you would see that in 1983, the Russian Tsarist ordered a decree that every published materials, every published work will be banned in Russian Empire if it will be printed in Ukrainian. And this dark cloud kind of overshadow whole history of Ukraine. And those who are against being either punished or sent to Siberia. Among them was one of the most important and famous poet, Taras Shevchenko. He's like a Shakespeare to England. He's one of the most prominent poet. He was actually a slave. He'd been bought out of slavery. And he became a painter too. And he graduated in an Academy of Art in St. Petersburg. But his poetry very much against Tsarist Russia. And because of this, he'd been sentenced first for life and later for 25 years in military prison. Ladies and gentlemen, in 19th century, military prison is a death sentence. And Tsar, Russian Tsar, on the margin of the verdict, he wrote, "I will forbid him to read, to write, and to paint." And I brought for you something today. I just want you to share. It's a very special and precious book. So this man, Shevchenko, he made a little book for himself, and he put it under his boot. So it's called Undebuted book, or Zahalявna knижечка in Ukrainian. So all his poetry in this book from the military prison. I'm going to show to all of you, just pass gently, because it's very rare. It's a very rare book. But I think that even touching, even look at this micro phrases, micro letters, and imagine that he's somewhere in the middle of nowhere, can be punished for writing this novel or poetry. And whole history of Ukraine basically like this. But he is a backbone. If you go into any peasant farm house in Ukraine, you will see 3 things, mostly. Icon on the right side with embroidery towels around. You will see Bible, and you would see the poetry of Shevchenko in every household, quietly placed on the side. This is his monument. Elsie, if you don't mind, a previous slide, this is his monument. You can see the bullet holes in the head of the monument of his. But this is one of the pictures that you can encounter now in Ukraine. So it's not only places been destroyed, but somebody shot a bullet through his head. In 1911, it was his death anniversary, and they want to do in Ukraine a concert. And the censor said, "I prohibit you, I decline to speak Ukrainian and to sing in Ukrainian. So this man, Yakov Stepovy, he's a composer, he transcribed from the choral piece to the piano piece. It's called Prelude in memory of Taras Shevchenko. Because they can sing, but they can play. So I'm going to play for you this piece. It's called Prelude to the memory of Taras Shevchenko. The piece is very dark because it's probably been written for the male chorus, so it will be a lot of bass parts. So I'm going to warn you, this will be it's almost like a requiem, short mini requiem for piano. Elsie, if you don't mind the previous slide, I can talk about a lot. Painting by Yuhim Mikhailov. He was a founder of the postmodern school in Kiev in 1920s. He'd been sentenced for 26 years in prison for being a Ukrainian artist. And he passed away in Gulag. His widow came and she brought 86 paintings to Kiev. After World War II, she escaped from Kiev, camp, DP camp, and displaced person camp in Austria for 3 years. And she ended up in Edison, New Jersey, with a roll of this 82 painting that she carried through the war from Europe to New Jersey. So all his painting now in the States, in the United States, and it's ended up in the possession of my mother. And when she passed away, I gave to the Bound Brook Church, and they have a museum in this Bound Brook, New Jersey. But the point is, out from his enormous output, 82 paintings exist, and it's been smuggled basically through World War II to the States. So this is a history of Ukraine, non-stop. And now we encounter exactly the same. All these artists just move all over the globe, and those who stay in Ukraine, I admire it, because when I was in Ukraine last time, I have a concert like this, and electrical wire was gone. So they put cell phones with a flashlight, and playing with a flashlight. So this is life over there. I'm going to play next piece. Next piece by his brother. Stepovey has a brother. They came from Kharkiv, city called Kharkiv, old capital of Ukraine. 1920th, Russians came again. They cracked independence of Ukraine again in 1921. 1922, his older brother moved to France. Younger hoped their life would be different. He stayed. In 2 years, he's dead. Younger one, the older one ended up in France. And he wrote a lot in the kind of style of Impressionism. But ladies and gentlemen, if you uprooted somebody from the cultural milieus and planted somewhere else, it's not easy for IT, for engineering, yes, but for artists it's very difficult. It's a very complex kind of psychological and cultural issue to blend it with a new culture. So most of his music still unknown, and his name was banned from even mention in Ukraine, because he is a traitor, because he left Ukraine in 1920s. By the way, in my concert in India, I've been asked to play a piece by Chopin. And they asked me why he was so connected to Ukraine and to Poland, even though he lived in France. Why he never moved back to Warsaw. Only several years ago, I found out a secret decree from the Russian Tsar that those who left Poland in 1830, a year of Polish uprising against Russians, considered as traitors. So this is why Chopin never came back to Poland, even though his heart been smuggled after his death and buried in a kostel in a church in Warsaw. But this is a different story. Actually, he was a first teacher of very famous composer whom you probably know, Igor Stravinsky. And why? Because Lysenko and father of Igor Stravinsky was best friends, because he also Ukrainian, and he sang all his arias, Lysenko's arias. And when Lysenko asked his friend, my son want to study music, who will be good teacher? And Lysenko said, oh, this young man in St. Petersburg. Now I'm going to play this piece in a very kind of impressionistic style. It's called Capricious Sea. Always focus on the goal. This is a painting by a very famous painter, Ivan Aivazovsky. He's actually Armenian, Ayvazyan, who was born in Crimea in a city called Feodosia, that been annexed by Russians 10 years ago. And I was in his museum, in his studio. All his life, he painted the beautiful landscapes and sea and ocean. And most of the painting now, not in Ukraine, not in Crimea, but in Russia, along with thousands and thousands of artifacts that have been stolen from the museums all over place that had been occupied. And it's very hard to trace them sometimes, very hard to find. I have a friend who is in charge of the search committee, and he said to me, you know, if the artifacts been taken from the contacts, it's very hard to find them later. As I said, up to now, 497 churches and houses of worship been destroyed in Ukraine. This is one of the examples. Icons been taken and places been desecrated and destroyed. 502 up to date. And I'm very privileged today because we're going to hear something very special, improvisation, that's not written and wouldn't be played again next time. It will be only for this next 7 minutes. Ben kindly agreed to improvise on the organ on Ukrainian themes. And he called me that, you know what, I picked a Kievan chant for improvisation, which is very unusual because chant is very kind of static. It's very hard to improvise. And I was very thrilled. And I said, you know what, I'm going to find something for you and for our audience. And I found this book. This is the first music grammar, 1647, been written. This is facsimile, been published in 1723. So this is how it looked like. Unfortunately, this book been printed in 1970, and in 2 weeks, Soviets took it from the shelves, from the bookstores. It's very hard to find this book. And this book actually not even from Ukraine. This book been somehow shipped to New York, and it been given as a gift to my mother in 1992. So this is on the slide is a Kievan chant as an example for this musical grammar that Ben is going to improvise upon. Oh, you know what? I have to move the piano. I have to move the piano away. Ladies and gentlemen, piano is wonderful. I was in India for 6 weeks. It's easier to find elephant in Pittsburgh than a good piano in India. I was shocked. I was really shocked because audience is great and 800 people, 900 people in the audience, and there's no grand piano. Every time I have to rent a grand piano like. So, beautiful place, beautiful grand piano, beautiful organ. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Taras. So you'll see some music up here and a sticky note. The music is actually like 13 measures of material from which I'm going to attempt to draw. And the sticky note tells me what pistons, these little white buttons up here, I have available to use. So that is the sandbox with which we will be working. And I will play through the theme of this chant one time on its own, and then I will go into the improvisation.
special. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. When I was a student in Academy of Music, I played organ secretly, because organ was prohibited instrument. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, I walked to Academy of Music, knocked on the door, gave the bottle of beer to the, he opened door for me, slammed it, and I moved to the organ hall, and I played from 5 o'clock till 6:30. That nobody would know that I'm playing organ at that time. I never expect to be also organist, and I played in Pittsburgh for many, many years in several churches. But I never expect to play organ ever in my life. Life is short. Now, from polyphony of organ to polyphony of voices. This young lady is going to sing for you an official anthem of Ukraine. This song been actually created in 1914 in the World War I in Western Ukraine, and it became song of insurgent army. 1918, 1919, 20, 30s, 40s. And if you would hear the song that they're going to sing in my age, in 1980, 1970, you will be sentenced for 5 years in prison, because it's considered song associated with insurgent army of Ukraine. Now, Pink Floyd get together to make recordings of the song, and hundreds of versions of this song been spread all over the world. This young lady is going to sing, and I'm going to assist them.
Славна Україна,
For me, I'm not done yet. Hold on a second. Thank you so much, but this is for us. Thank you. And oh, it's very nice. It's very nice gesture. And today, I wouldn't say highlight, but very special moment in my life as a musician. I never have a privilege to share the stage with probably the most renowned Ukrainian writer, poet. He was working in eastern part of Ukraine, in Donetsk, where now been under Russian occupation. And he became a refugee to eastern part of Ukraine and to Poland. He ended up in City of Asylum in Pittsburgh as a resident. This outstanding man, writer, artist, he wrote 4 books only this couple of years. They'd been published in Harvard and translated. These 4 books over there. And he's writing a new novel. His name is Volodymyr Filenko. He's one of the most well-known, the most special artist, writer in Ukraine. And he's sitting next to us. And he's going to recite his poetry in Ukrainian. But at the very end, on the other side of the program, a translation in English. So I would like you also to hear the lyrics, the melody of Ukrainian language, poetry. Volodymyr Filenko.
Hello everyone, I'm Ukrainian writer, and today I will read 2 poems from a poetry cycle dedicated to Taras Filenko. When the baby is crying. Коли плаче дитя, над Європою ці сигнальні ракети висять роками. Українські міста і села, бібліотеки і музеї горять, і не можу я спати. Бо там, в цих розбомблених школах і університетах згораю і я. Я вже майже згорів. Мене вже немає на світі. Війна знищила все, чим був я. У чому шукав розраду. Прямо зараз ракетні обстріли прицільно знищують все, в чому трималась душа, мої спогади, дитинство і юність. Немає куди повертатися, більше нема вороття, бо плаче і плаче, дитя плаче, дитя. Ви почуйте, як воно плаче. Я прошу вас, почуйте. Не почути нічого не значить, а почути рятує, як звук, як струна, що бренить. І в цьому звучанні стоїть, як ранішня зоря над згорілим вишневим садочком. Ви пробачте мене, моя музика тихим струмочком оминає цей світ і біжить, і біжить, і біжить, і не здатна війну відмінить і прикрити собою безвинних. Play till the end. Грай до кінця. Любий мій, грай до кінця. В полум'ю світу гори не згорай, тільки грай. Я прошу тебе, тільки грай. Ти самотній перед жахом війни. Ти один. Це робота така, грати вічність на клавішах світу, грати вічність, коли і надії нема, коли віри немає, коли холод з'їдає останнє тепло, виїдає нам пам'ять, рве шматками минуле і сліпить зболені очі. І хто це побачить? І хто зрозуміти це схоче, як із музики все, що знищено, постає, як пальці палають, крізь них виростає майбутнє, як ноти згорають, а з них витікає Дніпро, це диво гармоній, і Київ пливе на долонях, на твоїх музикальних долонях, просякнутих світлом буття. Thanks so much.
It's very emotional for me. At the very end, I have a question for you. I would like to play contemporary music, modern, with a lot of dissonances, with a lot of tension. I have a question for you. Would you like to listen longer piece or shorter piece? Huh? Longer. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to play a piece by Miroslav Skorik, who was my friend, and I worked with him in Academy of Music. He was a composer who wrote actually a lot of music for films and movies. And I just came from Armenia, in Georgia, held concerts over there. And very famous playwright and cinematographer, whose name is Parajanov. It's a very famous name, and he wrote music for these movies. But I'm going to play a piece by Skorik. It's called Burlesque. Even though it's a kind of whimsical and kind of sarcastic piece, but in the context of the war I'm playing now, I interpret this piece very different, because a lot of dissonances, a lot of struggle, a lot of pain in this piece. It lasted 8 minutes, so be patient. And by the way, this man worked with me all my life in the Academy of Music, and I never knew that when he was 5 years old, he'd been sentenced by Soviets from Western Ukraine to spend the rest of his life with his family in Kazakhstan. And only because of Stalin's death, he was able to return back to Ukraine and be a composer. But he never told me about this, because the fear sometimes is so deep. So it can be damaging, like it's been damaging for many artists that I met in my life, too. I'm going to play this piece by Skorik, based upon a lot of dissonances. So please be patient. I'm going even to open the lid for you. Sasha. Sasha, thank you, thank you, thank you. Всем дай. Sasha, thank you. This is a man who put a Ukrainian flag in front of his house 2 days before the invasion. And he replaced 3 flags already because of the winter, of the storm, of the wind, and he put it over and over and over in front of his house. Sasha Dombrovsky, psychiatrist that helped tremendously people in Ukraine, and especially with a problem with that a lot of young men and women encounter with a psychological trauma. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who came here to show the support. It's not about concert. It's just about hand by hand and hug and understanding that goodness will prevail, always. Thank you.
To help support the nonprofits that are here today. And don't forget, we're not here next week, but we're here on the 17th. Thank you again so very much for being here.